You're listening to KOUG Radio. Listen live online at KOUGradio.org.
This broadcast contains explicit content. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome, everyone, to my second favorite album, where every album is my second favorite because I am too indecisive to pick a first. My name is Kylie Sickles, and I'm super excited to be talking about Dreamland today by Glass Animals. I adore this album. I know I say that about every album, but this album is really fantastic. It came out in 2020. It's Glass Animals' third studio album. And it's really just fantastic. This album is very dreamy, very wavy, very, it's very almost bittersweet. It explores a lot of lead singer Dave Bailey's life and memories and kind of takes you through a lot of, these kind of ebbing and flowing emotions in a really beautiful way. Which is very interesting because Glass Animals before this wasn't really known for a lot of autobiographical work. For example, so they have two studio albums before this, right? They had Zaba and then they had How to Be a Human Being. Zaba, it's very clear with the music that the music was written first and they were just jam sessioning it and then they put words over the top that don't always super make sense, just kind of went with the flow. And it's a very vibey album and it's gorgeous. And then How to Be a Human Being is based off of when they went on tour for Zaba and they met a lot of really cool and really fantastic people and they heard all of these stories from people and then went on to create How to Be a Human Being, where each song tells the story of a different person that they met on tour. And only one of those songs is any semblance of autobiographical, where the last song in How to Be a Human Being, called Agnes, is written about one of Dave Bailey's very close friends. So that's the closest that they had gotten to writing songs about their own lives. But in Dreamland, what had happened was after the How to Be a Human Being tour, the drummer of Glass Animals and Dave Bailey's best friend was in a really bad accident. I believe he was hit by a car, but it was a car-related accident. And so while Dave, who also writes all the songs for Glass Animals, while he was waiting in the hospital, not knowing if his best friend would live or die, it forced him to go back and think about his life, and it brought back a lot of memories, a lot of resurfaced stuff. So this is an intensely personal album, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And I will say the drummer, his best friend, is A-okay. He did do the drums on this album. He did tour with them for this album, so we're good. But yeah, so absolutely gorgeous album. And we're going to start off with the titular track, Dreamland. So let's get into it. So that song really exemplifies and wraps together this whole album and really sets the tone very well of just this very soft and wavy and ebb and flow of emotions, like I had mentioned earlier. And the lines in some of the verses directly reference some of the songs that we'll hear later, but also just reference feelings. Like you see in Kodachrome, talking about looking back at old memories through old photos. And it's just the vibes are immaculate with this song. But yeah, and I doubt that this is preserved on the broadcaster, but when it says all around your head, all around your head, all around your head, it's actually a 3-dimensional sound where it sounds like he is singing while walking around you. So the lyrics are literally floating all around your head, and it's just gorgeous. But yeah, with that, we will jump into the second track called Tangerine. Awesome. Tangerine, that was one of the singles off of this album. I believe Dreamland was also a single, but I'm not positive. But Tangerine also has a very fun, I think it has 2 different music videos, actually, if I'm not wrong. But one of them is this very fun one where it's a family of 3, a husband, a wife, and a baby, and Dave Bailey plays all of the roles, and it's very funny, and I love it a lot. So check that out if you have the chance. But yeah, so this song is largely about when you are really connected with someone, but then you start growing apart in different ways and wanting to still be around this person because you miss the person that they were, and wanting so desperately for them to be that old person that they were, but, you know, understanding that they're a different person now. So my favorite line in this song is definitely, I love it when the light sits on you just right, tiny tangerine speckles painted in your eyes, because that just really exemplifies the longing of, you know, you see these small glimpses of the person that they used to be. In this case, you know, you see glimpses of the tangerine, which is what he's searching for, and you're convinced to stay longer and to be with this person longer, you know, because you want to find that old person, but that old person's not there anymore, because they become someone new. I also love the line, it's 2:23, you got friends on repeat, on repeat, on repeat, on repeat. It's so fun. And I mean, obviously it exemplifies more in a little literal sense, like someone who's just kind of rewatching stuff and is the middle of the night and they just, you know, they can't sleep and they're just kind of doing something that, you know, a lot of times people will put on like things like The Office or Friends or stuff like that, old sitcoms, just to be kind of mindless. So they're just like mindlessly doing things. But when he says it's 2:23, it's at exactly 2:23, like 2 minutes and 23 seconds into the song. So I just think that's neat. So but yeah, that's Tangerine. And I'll also mention, Dave Bailey has mentioned before that he loves like food references for some reason. Like food makes a really good metaphor in his brain. So this will not be the only song in this album that has a lot of references to food. But next up, we're going to be jumping into our first home movie. It'll be Home Movie 1994. Now, these are just little interludes, little segues, but they play very well into the following track. So I'll be playing both Home Movie 1994 and then Hot Sugar, and then I'll join you back here. So that was Hot Sugar by Glass Animals. And this song is most certainly about when you really admire someone and you think that it's love and you're like, gosh, I want to be this person's friend so bad, but really you don't really want to be around them. You just kind of want to be them because they're just so cool and you just want them to rub off on you, but you don't actually like talk about anything or really get personal. You just kind of want to be them. And a lot of the lyrics in the song reference very like superficial things, referencing that same, you know, superficial relationship that this is about. So, I mean, the first words are long black tulips, which is an allusion to the flowers that drug Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. So just being like drugged into something, you know, kind of being under someone's allure. And then also talking about hot sugar in the afternoon. I wish that we could be real too. Recognizing that this is just kind of a hazy dream, you know, this person isn't actually, you know, your close friend. You don't really talk about too much. You just want to be cool like them so bad. I mean, even in the chorus it says so cool, but we don't talk, you know? So I don't want to be around you. I just want to be like you. And another thing is it mentions Esprit gold rims. So that's an allusion to an Esprit car, which is very fancy. It looks very nice, but it's very known for not being reliable and it just breaks down very, very fast. It's a very superficial car. And on top of that, it's got gold rims, which is very much not useful at all. So I want to say this a lot during this album, I feel like, but the song is very vibey, very cool. This is one of my favorites, especially sonically. I just think it's really fun, really chill. So, yeah, and then Home Movies 1994, which we kind of skipped through. That one was just a cute little opening. So with the Home Movies, a lot of them are Dave Bailey's mother's voice. So and they're actual home movies from his childhood. So going back and talking about how autobiographical and deeply personal this album is, there's literally parts in this where you can hear like, you know, baby Dave Bailey and, you know, his mother talking to him and stuff. And I remember when, gosh, I don't remember which live it was, but he went live while one of the music videos was premiering on YouTube. And in the comments, he had mentioned that his mom was so nervous about having her voice on this because apparently she doesn't like her voice. So I don't know. I think it's just a really sweet little part to bring it home to how autobiographical it is. And speaking of home movies, we're actually going to jump into another one, home movie BTX, and then that'll lead straight into Space Ghost Coast to Coast, which is so good. I love that song so much. It is explicit though, so strap in. We're going to head into home movie BTX and then Space Ghost Coast to Coast. This was a very funny listen to me because I had no idea that we had the clean version. So I think it's so fun that instead of changing the lyrics in the chorus when he says the F word, he instead just like mangled the word. So if you were wondering what that word was in the chorus that you couldn't quite understand, that's what that was. That's so fun. I didn't realize we had the clean version. That's awesome. I'm very curious to see, because there's quite a few explicit songs in this album, but I'm curious to see how those will sound clean too, because I've never listened to the clean edits before. But this song is incredibly interesting and also kind of sad. So I will be talking about gun violence within schools, just as a heads up. But yeah, so this song, to get into this song, we need to know a little bit more about Dave Bailey. So he was actually born in Texas, and Glass Animals is a British band. So you might be like, whoa, what? Hello? So in his childhood, he moved to Britain. I don't know. I think it was like when he was in middle school or high school. I don't remember which one. But he moved while he was still young to Britain, which is why he now, still has an accent, and he was able to meet the rest of his bandmates who are all British. So, but he was born in Texas, and he spent a significant part of his childhood in Texas. And so something about this is he learned later in life that one of his best childhood friends ended up being an attempted school shooter. And so this song grapples with that of, knowing someone when you were so young and innocent and just, having fun together, and then learning later on, oh, this person went on to do an extremely terrible thing. And I will say attempted. He did not, thankfully, he did not succeed in his attempts and was arrested before he could. But I mean, that is just, it bleeds through the song of touch the glass, I feel you through it, against the wall with the bracelets on, you look bizarre and apricot. I mean, that's just talking about, talking to someone who's in jail, and, you think that you're Space Ghost, you think that you're really cool and that this was an amazing thing, but like, he's like, I don't want anything to do with it. You are not the person I once knew from my childhood. And a lot of this song really alludes to stuff from their childhood, like Space Ghost Coast to Coast, which is, an older cartoon that they likely watched in their childhood. And I also really love the second verse quite a bit, which is playing too much of that GTA, playing too much of that Dr. Dre, Doomquake, where'd you get the gun from, eh? And I tend to get pretty annoyed when people blame gun violence on things like video games and music and stuff like that, because that happens quite often where it's like, oh, well, we wouldn't, have all these issues if, our youth didn't engage in such violent stuff. And it's like, the GTA did not make me, make someone do this, So this is a satirical take on that of like, why would you do this, and kind of playing, satirically off of, oh, well, was it the music you were listening to or the games you were playing? And also the way he says, Doomquake, where'd you get the gun from, eh? Is like very sonically satisfying to me. And yeah, and I'll also say the bass drop that happens about halfway through the song is so phenomenal. I was actually supposed to see Glass Animals live for their Dreamland tour, but I wasn't able to go because it was right when the mask mandate lifted, and my dad's really high risk, so I didn't feel safe going, and I was so devastated that I couldn't go, and this song is why. I mean, all the songs are why. I adore Glass Animals, but this song, like, I wanted to hear live so bad because of that drop. And I watched them on their Live from the Internet show, and it was amazing over the internet, even if I wasn't there in person. So I'm really hoping that when they tour next, that they'll play this song. And I hear little rumors that Glass Animals will be dropping a new album this year. So hopefully we'll get a tour for that soon. But yeah, and then the rest of the song just talks more about, we were just two Texas toddlers, Pokemon and bottle rockets, talking about all this stuff that they did when they were kids, and now suddenly they've just grown in such different ways, and how terrible that is, and how weird and bizarre that is to, see someone that you grew up knowing just being such a different person from what they were originally. But yeah, next up, we will be going into Tokyo Drifting, which is supposed to be another explicit song. So again, it's going to be very fun to see how they change this up. So let's get into it. Yeah, awesome. So Tokyo Drifting is a phenomenal song. It's very much grown on me. When I first heard it, it was kind of a skip on the album for me, but now I can't believe I ever did that. It's so good. I love it so much. It does feature Denzel Curry on it. But yeah, this song is very interesting because it, in a lot of ways, is so different from what it originally was. Dave Bailey originally wrote the backing track for essentially to be like sold off. He was like, I'll write this for another artist to make off of, because he really liked the track, but he didn't feel like he had like the confidence to make a song that would be good enough to go over the track. But then, I don't know what happened. I don't know if something fell through, but it didn't end up, I don't want to use the phrase nobody wanted it, but it didn't end up going to anyone else. So he was like, damn, I guess I got to do this now. And so that's where the concept of Wavy Davy came from. So if you're familiar with Beyonce, you might know that she has an alter ego that she calls Sasha Fierce that kind of helps her on stage, where she, pulls a lot of confidence from having this alter ego that she's like, okay, what would Sasha Fierce do? So he directly was like, okay, I'm going to pull a Beyonce. And he made this alter ego named Wavy Davy, where he was like, okay, I love this track. I love it so much. I need to make music for it. I'm just going to pretend to be this guy named Wavy Davy and get the confidence to do it. And I mean, even a lot of the song is like this character Wavy Davy hyping himself up, like get loose, Street Fighter, tear it up. That's him saying to himself, okay, get hyped up. And I also want to mention that line is really cool because the original name for the song was going to be Street Fighter. They actually, the first time that they performed it, it was on the set list as Street Fighter. But then once they released it, it was called Tokyo Drifting. So something else I want to mention is this song, while it's on Dreamland, it was first released as its own standalone single in 2019, and it wasn't actually supposed to be on Dreamland. Once he released it, he did say, yeah, this song it's not going to be a part of an album. It's just a standalone single. And then Dreamland came out and it was on it. So, but yeah, it's an amazing song, very hype. And yeah, I just think it's really fun. So next up, we will have Melon and the Coconut. So let's jump into it. I'll say it here. I'll say it again. I'll say it a million times over. Melon the Coconut is underrated. I love this song. It's so weird and so funky, and honestly, it gets a lot of hate because it's so weird and funky, but I adore it. This is the song I was alluding to when earlier I was like, yeah, we're gonna, see something else on the album that really talks a lot about fruit and food and stuff. This is it. So this is a melon and a coconut going through a breakup. And if I wanted to really read into it and, question why one person's exemplified a melon and one person is exemplified by a coconut, I think that, coconuts, they got a hard exterior and also not a soft interior, I'd say, I mean, coconut meat is like kind of soft, but not really. It's just kind of, it's still kind of tough in its own way. And so, and then it's kind of empty in the middle, which, kind of sad. So the melon in this, the coconut in this situation is the one who kind of feels like they're giving up, where everything, we're doing just feels cold. Everything we're shooting, that's just fake B-roll, where that line kind of means everything just kind of feels like, we're on a side quest. It doesn't feel like there's a real point to what we're doing. This doesn't feel like, an adventurous day-to-day life. It just kind of feels like we're just kind of moving through life. And when it all started, I thought we would grow old, thinking that this was going to go so well, but it just didn't. And then in the second verse, we get Melon's response, or Melly, as they're referenced to here. And if I wanted to go into it and theorize as to why it's a melon, melons also kind of have a tough exterior, but they're very soft on the inside. Very, very soft, very liquidy. So, someone who maybe, has a lot softer looks on life. And I really, really vibe with this verse. I adore this verse. I think that this verse is the reason why I love this song so much. Talking about like, one day you'll see that you're wrong. Sometimes B-sides are the best songs. Sometimes killing time's very fruitful. Haha, fruit pun. Ha ha ha. But just talking about how, wasting time doing something that you love is not time wasted, and as someone who I very much, a lot of the things that I enjoy doing seem like wasting time to a lot of people. I love engaging in my hobbies, and, I do love going out on dates and stuff and being romantic, but I also just as much love like sitting on the couch and watching a movie at home, or, cooking dinner at home, or, those moments feel honestly a lot more intimate to me than going out and doing stuff. So I relate to this verse very, very much of like, what's someone's B-side is my, best night ever. Something that someone else finds boring is something that I love to do. And I think that's reflected in a lot of my hobbies are kind of slower moving hobbies. I love watching people play video games. I'm not very good at playing them myself, just because I'm not great at like super fast technique and stuff. And I love to crochet, and I love to paint, and I love to read, So a lot of my hobbies are very slow moving. And so that's a lot of the stuff that I value. And then the song also talks about like, I can't make you younger. I can't stop life moving onwards. I can't protect you. Just going forward of like, I can't fix you from life. We just kind of need to figure it out. And if you're not willing to figure it out with me, then I guess this won't work. And then it goes into roasting coconut. Too much quinoa and online shopping, off-white Air Force Ones in boxes. You're an effing coconut. Can't even put them on. Even if you could, you couldn't even pull them off, which is the most scathing thing that you could ever hear from a melon. I just gotta say, I love this line so wildly much. Like, I actually started making a painting. I never finished it because I hate painting words, where it's the melon saying this in a text of you're an effing coconut, can't even pull them on. Even if you could, you couldn't even pull them off. Like, it's just so scathing of like, damn. But yeah, I love the song a lot. It's weird, it's funky, but I relate a lot with the melon in the situation, and it's very near and dear to my heart. So next up, we're going to get into Your Love, Deja Vu, which I believe was one of the lead singles off of this. It has a very, very good music video, very fun. And I also just generally love this song because it's very fun. So let's jump into Your Love, Deja Vu by Glass Animals. I love this song so much. I say that about every song, I feel like, but this was kind of the song that I remember listening to and it making me so excited for Dreamland. So kind of my history with Glass Animals is I used to use Pandora around, 2019, early 2020. I used Pandora, and Glass Animals would sometimes come on my station with like Zabba and stuff, but Zabba's not generally my style. I'm a big fan of How to Be a Human Being, and Dreamland is my favorite album. So but then right before Dreamland came out, I kind of started giving it, more of a chance. And I also listened to this song, and I remember listening to this song and watching the music video and just being like, okay, I can get into this. And that's where I kind of became obsessed with Glass Animals, and, I haven't turned back since. So this song means a lot to me. It came out in early 2020, back in February. And, note that the full album didn't come out until August of that same year. So, but yeah, this song on its surface is very much about like, a relationship that is seemingly just sexual. You're this person who keeps on coming back for more, but there's not really any substance there, and the lead character in this seems to want more from that, especially in the bridge, talking about, maybe in time when we're both better at life, I can open my eyes and you'll still be by my side. Maybe one day we can actually be in a relationship where you're, actually staying here with me. But for right now, that's not what's happening. But, even beyond that, we could also extend this to other types of relationships that aren't necessarily sexual or romantic. When we talk about friendships that might feel kind of superficial, you're kind of addicted to some chaos of it. It's not super healthy. There's a level of, addiction there. And, maybe one day it can be fixed and solved. But for now, it's just kind of this toxic thing that you keep on feeding into. But again, really do check out the music video for this. I do love it a lot. It's very cool, very fun, very vibey. And actually, when the song was first played, because it was first revealed at a show, and the band just asked the people to not record any of it, and they were cool, and they didn't. Nobody recorded it. It didn't get leaked, which is amazing. And on the set list, it was called Palm Mute, which is very interesting. I don't know if that was its original name or if they just wanted a secret name on the track list. But yeah, so that was Your Love Deja Vu, heading into Waterfalls Coming Out of Your Mouth. Oh gosh, I love this song so much. This was another one that I was just so absolutely crushed I couldn't see live. And I find it so funny how they made this song clean. For reference, and I'm about to curse here, so explicit warning, the original lyrics at the first verse is, I'm gonna read your mind, big dicks and big ol' titties on the sly, say I got Aries eyes, fuck no, I'm a bona fide Aquemini. And I love that line so much because it's so fun, and I've seen videos of it live where people just scream that back at him, and it's so fun, and I was so sad that I didn't get to see it live. But so that was pretty funny to me, hearing it all warped like that for the clean version. But yeah, this song continued a lot of the kind of motifs that we see throughout this album of like I say old, vintage, no, like 90s and early 2000s media and pop culture and stuff. We know we're talking about Pepsi Blue, You Got Bottles, and from 2002, talking about, Scooby-Doo, even though Scooby-Doo is still here, but Scooby-Doo, Push Pops, Fruit Loops, The Price is Right, stuff like that. Talking about a lot of these older pop culture references. And this song at its core is talking about falling for someone and trying to be, what you think is cool, but you're not really showing the real person. And, your talk is incredible. You're so cool. How could I be, how could I live up to you? And then you yourself start trying to play it cool and be cool yourself, when you then come to realize, oh, neither of you are actually being yourselves. You're just, playing it up. And I think that's really exemplified in Never Seen The Price is Right, I'm a Liar, I've been on that shit since 99. Of just like, making up these things just to make yourself sound cool, but it's not the truth. It's not real. But yeah, I think this song is so fun. And yeah, certainly we're going to jump into a tonal change when we go to It's Also Incredibly Loud. So let's get into it. This song kind of reminds me how artistic songs can be and how much of an art form they are, because this song is so gorgeous. It's not even one of my favorite ones on the album, but I just have so much respect for it because of what it is and how artistic it is. So this song is very much about when you're telling someone bad news that you know that they're not going to receive well, and then you just kind of feel the weight of that. And as you're telling them, you can feel the silence as they're processing the words. And it's just the worst, most nasty silence you've ever felt, of just like, I don't know how they're going to respond. I don't know what to do. You're just kind of sitting there waiting for them to react. And yeah, I think that it just exemplifies that so well, because it being called It's Also Incredibly Loud, if you actually look at the wave file of this song, it's a cone, where it starts out very quiet and then it gradually gets bigger and bigger. And like, I think that part is so artistic and so cool, of just like literally creating art with the waveform. Like, that's so cool. And talking about, you know, whispers would deafen me now, of just like, this silence is so incredibly loud because it's deafening. It's the only thing you can focus on, of just like how quiet it is when you tell someone this bad news. And yeah, it's heart-wrenching, and it's gorgeous. I love this song a lot. But yeah, next up we have another home movie. We have Home Movie Rockets, and then we'll jump into Domestic Bliss. Alrighty. And I do want to apologize. I should have included a content warning before this song that we're going to be delving into domestic abuse. It wasn't super explicit, but it's pretty clear with the song, in my opinion. So, but yeah, as we talk about this, that is a topic that we're going to be talking about. So just as a heads up. But yeah, so this song, Dave Bailey said that this was the most difficult song to write on the album because it kept on showing up in his memories, and he didn't feel like it was his story to tell, but he felt like it was a story that needed to be told. So he grappled with it for a really long time. And so essentially, when he was a child, one of his friends, his friend's mother was being abused by the friend's father. And when he talks about this, he recounts, you know, the story of, you know, going over to this friend's house and like, you know, not being able to go inside and just hearing yelling from inside and stuff like that. And so in this song, he talks from the perspective of his friend, of like, you know, talking about this child watching, you know, his parent get hurt by his other parent, and just like a lot of these excuses and stuff, but really deep down, you know what's going on. And in the chorus, it talks about, you know, please, you know, we can leave them. And it talks about going to Hawaii. And Dave Bailey once said that he had an uncle who lived in Hawaii. So as a child, he viewed Hawaii as this like very, like, you know, paradise. You know, it's very, you know, like a calm, serene area. So talking about this, you know, almost childlike wonder of like, please, like, we can go someplace that's just calm. We can go to a paradise. We can do it. And he has faced some backlash for the song that I think is pretty justified, of like, you know, feeling like it's a little victim blamey of, you know, Dave Bailey writing of like, why don't you leave him, and not recognizing how difficult it is for people in an abusive relationship to be able to get out. But yeah, so this song I think is really important. But yeah, and he also felt that it was a necessary thing to write because of how domestic violence rose during lockdown. So that was part of him grappling with whether or not he should write this song. But yeah, next up we're going to head into undoubtedly the most popular song on this album, Heat Waves. So let's get into it. Heat Waves, undoubtedly the most popular song on this album. It's the fourth single off of this song. And yeah, it just kind of exploded. So when it first came out in June, in 2020, I remember it playing on the radio and it getting pretty popular, but not nearly as popular as it got later on. In, I think, 2021, it had its resurgence. It was either 2021 or 2022. But so the reason for its resurgence is a little funny. So that was back when Minecraft YouTube was like a very, very big thing. And there was a fan fiction that was very popular. It was about Minecraft YouTube that was called Heat Waves and was inspired by this song. And that got so popular that it caused a renaissance for the song, and it went number one in a couple countries. And I remember specifically them, they were really close with Australia, with it going number one in Australia. So Dave Bailey was like, look, if y'all make it number one in Australia, I'll get a tattoo of Australia, like the country, on my butt. And it did. And so now he has a tattoo of Australia on one of his butt cheeks. So, but yeah, this song had an amazing resurgence. But the song itself is very much just talking about a relationship that you kind of realize isn't good anymore. And you don't want to leave because you still love the person, but like just realizing that you're not what each other needs. And it's like, you know, this very melancholic, like, I have to leave, but I don't want to, you know? So the song is very good and it's a banger. Next up, we are actually getting to the last two songs of this album, one of which being a home movie. So we're getting to the end. So we're going to jump into home movie, Shoes On, and then jump straight into Helium. Such a gorgeous way to end this gorgeous album. So there's a lot here. First of all, I think that it's adorable that this album ends with a home movie edit. I mean, it's included in the song Helium, but a home movie edit of Dave Bailey as a baby, you know, saying bye-bye. I think that's adorable. As for the content of the song itself, it's disjointed enough that we don't know fully what it's about. On the surface, what I interpreted as is a relationship that started through cheating. You know, maybe one person was with someone else. You know, person A and B were together, but then person C comes in and person A and C fall in love while A and B are still dating. And kind of what, you know, and that relationship that comes from that then falling apart because it was built on such terrible groundwork, you know, talking about, I guess I want you more than I thought I did now that I know that part of you's at home with him. And my mama said there used to be white pyramids. They float above the sand. They're slowly sinking in. Our foundation's destined to keep crumbling. It's a blood diamond, flawless, but for that one thing. Talking about this relationship that seems really fantastic, but it's sinking in because of its, you know, foundation. And, you know, talking about starting that relationship with zero innocence. On another note, it could be, especially at the beginning, referencing Dave Bailey's best friend who was in, you know, the car accident, you know, talking about 909, you can call it or am I, that, you know, pulls a lot of imagery to hospitals. Or it could be talking about Agnes, who's a dear friend that Dave Bailey wrote about before, and how to be a human being, of, you know, talking about, you know, someone who's passing away at a hospital. So it could be about, you know, quite a few things. And that would also play into the line, you talk like a man and taste like the sun, because Agnes is a guy. So, but that could also, you know, be interpreted to someone having, you know, some type of, you know, queer awakening, of like it feeling, you know, having this perceived notion that it feels wrong to, you know, realize that you like someone of the same gender, you know, and that dealing with internalized homophobia and stuff like that. So I won't imply that that's necessarily what he means, because I'm not a very big proponent of theorizing artists' sexuality. I don't really like it when people do that. So but that is something that can be interpreted and that someone could relate to on the outside from this. So yeah, and I also love that it replays the chords from Dreamland, but just slightly different, you know, near the end. And the bridge of "You just want backstreets, you don't want me" is lyrics from Dreamland that are just slightly altered. So it's a perfect end cap to this album. But yeah, that was Dreamland by Glass Animals, my second favorite album. Thank you so much for joining. Please do check out this album more. Check out more by Glass Animals and their amazing music videos. But yeah, my name is Kylie Sickles. Thank you so much for joining. Have a great rest of your day.